Hello, Coppell ISD. My name is Jennifer Hubble. I'm the lead elementary ESL facilitator for our district and the ESL dual language facilitator at Wilson Elementary. I'd like to take some time with you today to go over with elementary and secondary our updated language progress monitoring forms and resources that we have to help with our English learners in making sure their linguistic and academic needs are met. Before we go into those resources and form updates, I'd like to take a minute to review our CISD core values. Here in CISD, we value collective engagement that positively impacts the lives of our children and our world. We also value authentic relationships because we know that when we invest in each other, we learn and flourish. Thirdly, we redefine success here by valuing each individual's contribution because we know that success can be different for everybody. Last but not least, we value great teaching because we believe here in CISD that great teaching is the key to deep learning. The purpose of this training is to determine the proficiency of English learners in listening, speaking, reading, and writing between now, the middle of the year, and then the end of the year when we have TELPAS, in order to better understand our learners' strengths and areas of growth, to indicate whether our English learners are making steady growth in those 4 areas, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, to provide the applicable supports for their linguistic and academic success, and also to plan instructional lessons that are intentional with English learners in mind, that are aligned with the ELPs and the PLDs. Now, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the ELPs, which are, of course, the federally required instructional standards that are designed to ensure that our English learners are taught the academic English they need for school purposes. It's used in the ELPs are used in the foundation and enrichment instruction of kindergarten all the way through 12th grade English learners. And they cover those 4 domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and then learning strategies. And we are able to assess those areas of language through 4 proficiency levels defined to us through the proficiency level descriptors: beginning, intermediate, advanced, and advanced high. So this ELPS and TELPAS proficiency level descriptor page here is something I'm sure you are familiar with. Hopefully you have it saved to your Google Drive or your desktop, your computer, so that you will have these proficiency level descriptors that we typically use with TELPAS that help us to see the descriptors and overall summary of these areas, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and give our learners a proficiency level of beginning, intermediate, advanced, or advanced high in each of those 4 domains of language. So if you do not have these saved, please make sure you go ahead and save those. These go through the way we are able to assess our learners, and we're going to use this middle of the year to also help determine where our English learners are at this point in the year so that we can better track their progress for the end of the year and better meet their needs, see how they are growing with regards to language. We also have this TELPAS Enhanced Educator Guide. So TELPAS is the way that we assess the abilities that the learners are gaining from the ELPs, and it assesses kindergarten through 12th grade ELs. So this updated educator guide gives a lot of information. It goes through all of the resources that we need, how language is acquired, and it has a lot of great information for you to be able to get an idea of how to best assess your English learners, understand language acquisition and the 4 areas of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and see which proficiency levels accurately describe your English learners so that you can best meet their needs. So we've got all of these covered in the ELPs: learning strategies, listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And the PLDs help us rate our learners and determine where they are. So on the PLDs that you have a copy saved, hopefully, you have the proficiency levels at the top, and with a summary statement of beginning, intermediate, advanced, and advanced high, and then the descriptors of each. So we have K through 12 listening, K through 12 speaking, K1 reading and writing, and 2 through 12 reading and writing. So these are the global definitions of the proficiency levels and the key features. So for a beginning listener, speaker, reader, and writer, those beginning learners have little or no ability to understand and use English. They may know a little English, but not enough to function meaningfully in the social and academic settings. So overall, a beginning learner has little or no English ability. And up here are the areas: listening, speaking, reading, separated between K1 and 2 through 12, and writing separated by K1 and 2 through 12. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but these separations are due to, in part, to how they are holistically rated and then on the computer as well. An intermediate English learner has some ability to understand and use English and can function in social and academic settings as long as the tasks they are doing require them to understand and use simple language structures and high-frequency vocabulary, and these are in routine contexts. Intermediate ELs have a limited ability, simple language structures, high-frequency vocabulary, and routine contexts. Those are the key features. For an advanced learner for language proficiency, they're able to engage in grade-appropriate academic instruction in English, although ongoing second language acquisition support is needed to help them understand and use grade-appropriate language. These learners function beyond the level of simple, routinely used English that you would see with an intermediate learner. So overall, the advanced learner has the ability to engage in grade-appropriate academic instruction with second language acquisition support still needed. For an advanced high learner, he or she has attained the command of English that enables him or her with minimal second language acquisition support. So they still need a little bit from time to time, but it's very minimal in order for them to engage in regular all English academic instruction at their grade level. So the key features for an advanced high learner is that they are able to engage in grade appropriate academic instruction with minimal second language acquisition support. Every once in a while, they might need something, but overall, compared to their grade level peers, they function most of the time as a non-English learner would function, a English proficient learner. So in this updated educator guide, it explains this second language acquisition, how learners go through and are gaining basic interpersonal communicative skills, BICS, and also cognitive academic language proficiency, CALP, which takes a good deal longer than them attaining BICS. So we might see that an English learner, is able to engage in conversations, and we think that they're understanding and able to function well socially, and we might misunderstand, how much language they are missing academically and still need work with. So for those reasons and others, we are going to go ahead and make sure that we are progress monitoring their language acquisition in the middle of the year and not waiting until only the end of the year with TELPAS, so that we can help them make some greater gains and meet their needs a little bit better with progress monitoring. So this guide goes through a lot of other information as far as language proficiency and academic achievement and how they relate with academic language proficiency, how learners build language proficiency. So if you are interested or need more information on second language acquisition and specifics of the ELPs or TELPAS and assessing your learners, please make sure that you get in touch with your campus facilitator, and they will be extremely willing and able to help you with these. So we are going to go on to take a look at these 4 areas and how we will be able to assess our English learners and what that kind of looks like in the areas of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and how you can collect information about them to get some progress monitoring data to best meet their needs. So the first area is oral comprehension, so how they listen to the English language. And for determining their proficiency in listening, we can consider how well the learner understands the following: reacting to oral presentations, large group and small group interactions in academic settings, one-on-one and one-on-one interviews, responding to text read aloud to them, how they respond to that, how they follow directions. We can observe their listening comprehension in cooperative group work, and then informal social discourse with peers, as well as individual student conferences. So the TELPAS Enhanced Educator Guide that we just looked a little bit at on page 18 for kinder and first grade and page 44 for second through 12th grade goes through some more specifics about how you can best get a good idea of your English learners' listening comprehension based on those TELPAS rubrics, the proficiency level descriptors, which we are not saving until the end of the year only to look at and use, but referring to those periodically as a type of formative assessment for our English learners. So these icons that you will see in these slides go to specifics of the oral comprehension and how the English learner is gaining information through listening. So in the area of oral comprehension or listening skills, a beginning listener would understand the read words here of this whole paragraph that may be stated by the teacher. So if the teacher said, "I have some exciting news for you today. We are going to go on a field trip next week. On Thursday morning, we will load the buses and be gone the whole day. In your take-home folder, there is a note about the field trip for your parents to sign. Please remember to bring the signed note in your take-home folder back to school. You have to bring the note signed by your parents back to school, or you will not be able to go with us." So these words in bold red print are what the English learner at a beginning listening level would take in from all these words being said. So this kind of gives us an idea of what they are taking in as they are listening. So these are the different experiences in the classroom that you could take that information from and use the rubrics to get a better idea of determining updated information for your English learners. But if you are a non-content area teacher and you hear or are wondering about your English learners' proficiency levels, then this is a good place to also go for you to get a better idea of how they are functioning at a linguistic level. So for an intermediate listener, out of this same paragraph that's stated, they would pick up a few more words. They are still pretty routine vocabulary, common things that they have heard, but they are gaining a substantial amount more than beginning listeners. For an advanced listener, they are getting most of what's being stated. So there are more words that they are not getting. There are more words that they are getting than that they are not getting. You'll see the red bold words are what they're taking in from what's being stated. Now they are missing some key words. So, they wouldn't necessarily maybe know that they would need to get the note signed, maybe just that they would bring it back. So this, shows us that while we think that they are listening wonderfully and that they are at advanced level, they still do need some support for getting the whole picture and all the details. So for an advanced high listener, most of what is being said to them orally, they are taking in. Again, every once in a while, they are going to need some minimal linguistic support because some important vocabulary might be missed. Just like a English proficient learner, some of those might also need to be minimally helped with them as well. The advanced high learner doesn't need to be left all on their own all the time. They still might need some minimal support every once in a while, and that's okay. For the area of speaking, we will consider how well the kindergarten through first grade learner performs in the following performance-based speaking activities. Now for TELPAS, when they're assessed through TELPAS, the kindergarten and first grade learners are assessed by the classroom teachers using the proficiency level descriptors, those rubrics, by them. And then the second through 12th grade learners, they are assessed in the areas of speaking with the online TELPAS assessment. So this is why it says K1, but these for our middle of the year progress monitoring, when we do not have online assessments, when we're getting a progress monitoring level for our second through 12th grade learners, these are some areas that you can go ahead and take a look at in the classroom, how they're performing for speaking. So we can look at their cooperative group work, kindergarten through 12th graders, their oral presentations, their informal interactions with peers, large group and small group instructional interactions, one-on-one interviews, classroom discussions, articulation of problem-solving strategies, and then individual student conferences. And in the TELPAS Enhanced Educator Guide that we looked at earlier, on page 25 and page 47, you can see information about those different speaking opportunities that you can gauge for your learner, how they are doing. So we're going to take a look at this example, a video example, to see a kindergarten English learner. And this kindergartner is at the advanced level of speaking proficiency. You'll see that this learner can participate in a group discussion about a book the class has been reading pretty well. And the clip starts as a teacher asks the student to explain why one of the characters from the book feels a certain way. An advanced kindergartner.
Can you think of an idea why you might be upset?
Because lady. The man is the grumpy is mad at the lady because she gave her a food. That's why he's so angry.
So you can see that she was at an advanced level and was able to participate meaningfully in that discussion about the book character. For reading comprehension, we are going to consider how well the learner understands in situations that involve paired reading, sing-alongs and read-alongs, including chants and poems, shared reading with big books and charts, overhead transparencies, other displays, guided reading with leveled readers, reading subject area text and related materials, independent reading, and cooperative group work. Also, reading response journals. And these are many of these refer to the K1 examples, but that is because in 2nd through 12th grade, those are done as assessments at the end of the year for TELPAS on the computer. So they do the reading TELPAS online. For the middle of the year, we are not accessing the online test for that. So we're going to be using those rubrics, the PLDs, to determine where our English learners are. And we're going to add a piece to our progress monitoring forms collected this second 9 weeks so that we can better gauge where they are and if they're making the appropriate growth, and how we can ensure that they are making the growth that we would like to see them make and that we know they need to make by the end of the year. Here's a reading example. This learner, Sung, enjoys listening to the teacher read books aloud to the class. So Sung is able to rely on visuals not very much to retell the main events and answer comprehension questions. So Sung needs little second language acquisition support when he reads books in his reading group. Recently, they read a book about an owl, and the teacher said he successfully read without assistance, as we're going to see in the video. So this is some anecdotal notes by these are some anecdotal notes by the teacher and classroom observations, and then we will see how what she describes about the learner and what we see in the video in a couple of slides, what the rating is based on those rubrics and based on what is seen in the classroom.
Please say, Robin, if you help me, I will give you some of my thing. Yes. This is not a trick.
Very good.
All right, so we saw Sung reading quite well there. Later during that reading group, Sung showed that he understood the story by answering comprehension questions correctly. So he is reading the words and understanding and able to answer comprehension questions.
How did the spots get on the owl?
He spit.
Okay. How did this help him up?
Because he wiggled and the mud get on the owl.
Yes, he wiggled and all of that mud just like he got on the owl. But did it cover the owl fully, like the black bird? No, it just made those what?
Black
Those spots. Excellent.
So Sung is able to decode words in books and on the word wall at a level similar to his native English-speaking classmates. He needs minimal language support.
At the pool, I do not
Die
from the side.
Excellent.
Hey, that's that round one.
Yeah.
This enhanced educator guide gives several other examples as well. If you'd like to take a look at all those examples, they give kindergarten through high school examples of how learners are doing linguistically and compare them to the PLDs so that you can get a better idea of maybe what your English learners, where they are in their language development. So, as you probably noticed, Sung's reading proficiency level rating is at the advanced high level of English language reading proficiency. With minimal second language acquisition support, he has the ability to use English to build foundational reading skills. He decodes and comprehends grade appropriate text in English at a level nearly comparable to his native English speaking peers. The last domain that we will be looking at is writing. So these are some examples for kindergarten through 12th grade, what you would be collecting from the classroom and thinking about their performance in writing for their linguistic proficiency. You could take a look at their journal writing for personal reflections, shared writing for literacy and content area development, first drafts, publishing and presenting, descriptive writing on a familiar topic, writing about a familiar process, narrative writing about a past event, reflective writing, extended writing from language arts classes, or expository or procedural writing from science, math, and social studies. So the first several are focused on the lower grades, and the last several are, the second half, are focused on those 2 through 12. So this is the only domain in writing that everyone, all the grades, kinder through 12th grade, are using, collecting samples and using the PLDs, those rubrics, to help determine beginning, intermediate, advanced, or advanced high levels. The 2nd through 12th graders, when we get to the end of the year for the summative TELPAS assessment, those will be done on the computer for reading, speaking, and listening. And then writing will be collected and assessed using the rubrics. Kindergarten and first grade is going to use the rubrics for all the domains, both for this progress monitoring time in the middle of the year and for the end of the year in TELPAS. And we can use these PLDs for these areas through the entire school year as formative assessments and being able to determine where our learners are so that we can help get them to where they need to be as far as their goals go. So again, these icons take you to examples and more information about each domain that you're looking at. So here are some kinder and first grade writing samples. This is from a kindergartner. After a science activity that included working in the class garden, Graciana wrote a story about how we all worked together to pull weeds. The topic was concrete and familiar to her, so she was able to explain her writing simply, although she displayed some primary language features. So you can see her drawing here. This is a sample that was taken from the classroom, and she drew about her experience and then wrote what happened. And then it's really important at those younger grades, as you know, to make sure you write down, ask them to tell you about their picture and what they wrote, and for you to record what they said so that you can get an idea of their thought process and see where we need to focus our work to help them meet their linguistic and academic needs. So what she said here in her writing is, we go to the Hardin, we pull much weed, we want to grow the flowers big. And once again, in the Enhanced Educator Guide for TELPAS, it gives a lot of examples and a lot of great detail and videos and written explanation about the ratings and then other learner work, with great examples from kindergarten up through 12th grade. This 2nd through 12th grade writing sample is a second grader. There are several other samples from middle schoolers and high schoolers in that you can talk to your facilitator about seeing, and they're also linked in here and on the TEA website. So this is a writing assignment from 2nd grade at the advanced high level, and this learner describes things that are important to have on a camping trip. So you can see here, a lot of times it is definitely helpful for you, whether you're progress monitoring, getting just a quick idea of how your learner is doing with regards to writing, both in the content areas and in narratives and just describing in journal writing. It's very helpful if you read it out loud to get an idea of the whole picture and if it's making sense or not, and how they're expressing themselves in writing. So the most important thing is the kids, because without kids, you can't have fun and you can't do fun things with used you. The second most important is a tent, because without the tent, you cold and the insects could poke you, or the most kiddo could poke you too, and you're going to have red dots. The third important thing is a good place where you don't hear noises of animals or insects, and a good place to sleep. The fourth most important thing is the marshmallows. So going on and reading the whole thing out loud gives you a better idea of what they're saying, and so that you're able to see that in a grade level situation, this learner is able to express him or herself in a grade appropriate way, and it makes sense, and they're getting their point across. There are definitely some minimal things to work on, but they are able to express themselves in writing with the assignment. So if you are not a content area teacher, then you at this point can go ahead and stop watching this training, and please see your campus facilitator if you would like more information on getting a clearer picture of the English learners you have in class, or meeting their needs a little bit better in the classroom if you feel that that's something you need to do. So please remember to fill out the flex form for the time. You get an hour flex credit for this. So if you fill that out and see your facilitator for more information, hopefully you have a better idea of the proficiency levels, what they might look like as an English learner that you might have in your classroom. So thank you so much for joining us. If you are a content area teacher, you will be required for this second grading period to complete the Google Forms, the progress monitoring forms that you completed in the first 9 weeks. We have tweaked it a little bit. We've added a second component to it that is short. It shouldn't take too much time, but it will give us a lot of great information to best meet our English learners' needs linguistically and academically, and check their progress and make sure that we are giving them what they need to help close those gaps and make them help them reach their goals for the end of the year. So on the form for linguistic accommodations, the one for the second 9 weeks is the same in the first part. You're going to give basic information like the learner name, the grade level, the content areas you teach, and which linguistic accommodations you use consistently with this learner for instruction. And then if the learner's attendance has affected his or her academic performance, and verifying as the classroom teacher for the learner that you've been able to monitor and assess the academic progress during the past 9 weeks, and that you've submitted the answers and comments. And then the space below at the bottom is going to provide any comments that you feel will be helpful. So this is what the form looks like. This is the part you are familiar with. For the second 9 weeks, you're going to still put your Coppell ISD email address, the learner's first and last name. On the secondary form, yours might have a drop down for you to click the name of the English learner. If that's the case, then you do that. If you don't have the drop down, you will type the first and last name of each English learner that you have, including parent denials. And then you'll mark which grade you teach and the content areas you teach. So if you teach math, reading, language arts, or English, science, social studies, or history, or all of these, then you will be required to please submit one form for each English learner you have in class. And you will also mark their linguistic accommodations. This is just the first section of the list of linguistic accommodations. So please just check the ones that this English learner you're filling the form out for uses consistently in instruction. And has the learner's attendance affected their academic performance? You'll just mark yes or no, and then verify and provide any comments that you believe would be helpful. On the progress monitoring of active ELs, this was in the Enhanced Educator Guide that we went over at the beginning, but this is to help, we're doing this new section to help show growth in the 4 language domains between middle of the year and end of the year for the summative TELPAS. And we want to answer the questions on the form to provide feedback on how the learner is performing in the classroom using this following scale. So if the learner is beginning in one of the 4 domains, you will mark a 1. If the learner is intermediate, you'll mark a 2. If the learner is advanced, you'll mark a 3. And then advanced high, you'll mark a 4. So we'll be doing this for each of the questions that are on the second portion of the form, which cover the 4 domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And once again, this is the overall key ideas for the proficiency levels. So when we are looking at progress monitoring of active ELs, we'll want to note that high academic achievement is not mentioned in the definition of the advanced high level on those rubrics of language proficiency. High academic achievement is not a prerequisite of English language proficiency. Advanced high ELs exhibit a range of academic achievement just as native English speakers do. High academic achievement is the goal of all schooling and is demonstrated through content area assessments. Advanced high English language proficiency supports the ability of ELs to achieve academically, but is not sufficient to guarantee it. An EL with an advanced high level of English language proficiency who is not achieving academically needs interventions related to the subject matter taught, not second language acquisition. And if this is the case, with anyone, but you always have your campus ESL facilitator to talk with you through and help you with English learners in all these areas. But if you have one who is an advanced high level of English language, but there are some discrepancies and they're not achieving academically, then those are, some special conversations sometimes that they can definitely help you with so that you can kind of determine second language acquisition and academic needs. So once again, the link to the proficiency level descriptors here that you have saved by now, we're going to be using these. There's a link on the form that goes directly to this. If you need to use the link, you can. If you have it printed out, you can do that. If you have it saved, but we'll be using these rubrics, these PLDs, for this middle of the year second grading period when we fill out the forms to mark 1, 2, 3, or 4 for beginning, intermediate, advanced, and advanced high to answer those questions. So please make sure you refer to these rubrics for each EL that you fill out a form for the middle of the year progress monitoring form. So this is the second section of the form that's been updated. This is the link that I just was talking about to the PLDs. So you can click on that and it shows the scale. A 1 represents beginning, 2 represents intermediate, 3 represents advanced, and 4 represents advanced high. So you will answer this question if the learner has made linguistic progress during the last grading period, yes or no. And then if you don't feel that this particular EL has shown linguistic progress, please make sure you note how not and why you feel they have not shown that so that you can work with all the applicable people to help see how we can best meet the needs of that EL. The next one goes into the rating scale. Based on the learner's performance in class, please rate the following areas: oral comprehension, how the learner responds to oral information. So this one is about that listening comprehension. And if you need to go back to see information about the oral comprehension, then you can click on this when you're looking at the slides and it will take you back to those oral comprehension slides, the listening skills and examples that we went over earlier. So you'll just mark 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on where your learner is showing based on the rubrics and based on classroom performance in your content area class. If you are a secondary teacher, you on your form might have a 0 here. So please make sure you contact your ESL, your campus facilitator, if you have any questions about that. But that's if you feel that for one reason or another, you're not able to give them a 1, 2, 3, or 4 rating. So next, you're going to be looking at reading comprehension and rate using the rubrics and their performance in class for language proficiency. 1, 2, 3, or 4, beginning, intermediate, advanced, or advanced high. And then once again, if you need those examples or to review the information about reading comprehension, you can click on this icon. It will take you to that slide. You'll also answer a 1, 2, 3, or 4 for how your learner completes writing assignments with minimal linguistic support. So minimal, advanced high, or advanced, intermediate, or if they need a lot of support according to those rubrics in your class performance, then it will be a 1. Once again, you can click on this writing icon to take you back to the writing information slides. The next one is, do they seek clarification when needed? Do they ask for help, or do they sit back and not ask for help and don't get their needs met? So this would be beginning, intermediate, advanced, or advanced high, 1, 2, 3, or 4. That's part of the rubrics. And then also communicate effectively with peers in social settings. So we're going to be looking at the BICs, how they are in social language, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then the next one, how they communicate effectively during classroom instructional tasks. So more of the CALP and their academic language. Once again, if you need support for answering these questions, you can click back on these icons here to go to those slides. You can also look at the educator guide and work with your campus facilitator if you need more information and further assistance. Lastly, on the form, if you feel any of the indicators above are not applicable or you can't accurately rate the student in that area, please note here and explain. So you'll add information. If maybe you have one of the few learners that we have taking TELPAS alternate 2, or for one reason or another, you are not able to get an accurate rating, beginning, intermediate, advanced, or advanced high in a particular domain or in multiple domains, then you'll note that here and please explain so that we can best meet their needs and help you as well. Thank you so much for joining in to learn more about how we can better serve our English learners and track their progress formatively as we move towards the end of the year to TELPAS. Please make sure you fill out the the flex credit form if you would like flex credit for this training, and you content area teachers will be filling out the Google form for the linguistic accommodations and progress monitoring for each EL you have, whether it is a parent denial or they're in the ESL or bilingual program, for each one for the second grading period. And your campus facilitator will be sending those out to you with the calendar invites and all the information you need for those. So thank you so much for joining us to get the further information about this. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of the year and are able to really get a lot out of your instruction with your English learners.